That phrase, as we saw, through the suffering and shameful treatment in Philippi, and if we want, we can just think about Acts chapter 16, maybe read it a little bit later, because it's amazing what happens. Because that's what Paul is talking about here. Paul essentially drives out a demon of a little girl who's possessed by a demon of divination. And Paul drives that demon out, and of course, this slave girl's master's incredibly upset because that's how he made his money. It was divination, so she was telling the future. And so people would pay him to get divination from that demonic entity that had indwelt her. Well, Paul cast that out. And this uproar begins in the city of Philippi. And Paul and Silas are rounded up, and the Bible doesn't tell us there that Timothy was involved, so somehow or another Timothy got out, but Paul and Silas are rounded up, and they are beaten with rods, they are stripped, and then they're thrown in jail, and they're in chains, and it's not just, they're in the inner cell where they're in chains, and their feet are in stocks. You kind of pause and go, is this what you get for preaching the gospel, for living the gospel? Whoa. What's so amazing about this episode, this reality of Acts chapter 16, is there they are, they're in jail, and all these other prisoners are there, they're in jail, and what do? They worship. They start singing out to God. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine being one of those guys in jail and you hear Paul and Silas and they're singing out to the Lord and how good he is and how powerful he is, and they're worshiping him. They're singing hymns? What? In the midst of this incredible divine earthquake takes place. The whole place shakes and the chains fall loose and the doors open up. And you know, by way of history, if you happen to be a one that's a prison guard or over that jail and that happened, the first thing that you would do is kill yourself. Why? Because you're responsible. The first thing that Paul says is, we're all here. The guy's about ready to kill himself, thinking that they're all out. Paul says, we're all here. We're all accounted for. And we know how amazing it is that one jailer and his whole family come to Jesus Christ. They are baptized. This amazing thing happens. That's the power of the gospel, no doubt. But one of the things I'd point out is this is why it was so shameful. This is why it was so difficult. Shameful treatment is because they happened to be Roman citizens. Both Paul and Silas were. And so that was completely shameful way to treat a fellow Roman citizen.